Hey, Blue Table fans, Sean here, and I'm going to be talking to you tonight about Infinity. This is a game that I have purposely not learned, and that's because there's really a lot to it, and over the years I've had a lot of staffers who really are a lot better at it than I am. But I'm going to tell you what I know, and this was prompted by a comment on another video where someone said that talked about price point. And I was thinking, guy, what is the least expensive game to get into? And I really think it's Infinity. So you go to infinitythegame.com. I think if you go to infinity.com, that takes you to the car, something like that. So anyway, the company that puts it out is called Corvus Belli, and they are based in Spain. We've actually met them in person before at, I think it was Gen Con, and some other things too. We've had a really good relationship with this company over the years. And in fact, they usually send us their new releases so that we can paint them and show them off in a battle report. Now, they're an extremely responsive company. The models are obviously gorgeous. In fact, we're going to take a look at some of those. Their website's very friendly. They're extremely responsive. They have this is just really one of the best companies out there. So there are 8 basic factions for the game, and it's pretty complex. I mean, it's more like playing a role-playing game than anything. And I've heard that they are actually going to put out a role-playing game, and if that hasn't already happened. So this talks about the different factions, and let's see if I can show you some figures. There you go. There's some figs. Now they have what are called tags, T-A-G. It stands for something, I don't remember it offhand, so apologies for that, but they've got big guys, and most of the game is just your regular infantry-sized figures. And you can play the game with like 8 to 14 figures, and if you go over to thewarstore.com, by the way, a great company to buy from. They've been around forever. In fact, they were kind of just in their infancy when I was starting in late 2003, early 2004, and the owner, Neil, was really nice to me and set me up an account and has just been really super friendly. So they're very responsive. So anyway, yeah, as you can see here, the discounted price is under $10. Now, one thing to look out for is that you might look at this and say, hey, I get 3 figures in this blister. No, you don't. You get 1 figure. But the reason they do it this way is to show you the figures from different angles. And if you just read it a little bit, it'll tell you how many figures are actually in there. So Haq Islam starter box is $40. That's discounted, normally $47, $48. And you get 6 models in it. So that's like just $6 and some odd per model. And these things are really detailed, guys. They are just really great figures. However, if you're going to get into this game and you're going to assemble and paint everything yourselves, guess what? You need to buy some specialty equipment. You got to get a Dremel and learn how to pin things, because these models, they definitely need to be pinned, and their joins are really small. So I don't say that as a criticism necessarily. I mean, they're designed as well as they can be. They typically will have like a natural peg or a ball and socket, which helps. But quite frankly, we often get requests for full pinning on these guys. And so that's what it looks like to order your Infinity army. There's tons of figures. They're so incredibly handsome. I mean, and the paint jobs that you're seeing here are really like, let's just say this. In the time it takes to paint one of these figures, you probably could get a landscaper to landscape your yard. And I often compare the miniatures assembly and painting business to landscaping. It requires specialty, it requires quite a bit of expertise, practice, and you need materials on hand. You need to understand what you're doing. And, But if you applied the same things, like you wouldn't expect a landscaper to come out, and do front and backyard for $200, but sometimes I get things like that, and it's okay. It's really it's a beginning industry and still really hasn't resolved itself, but it's actually getting close. It's getting close. People are understanding what it takes really commercially to do this. When I was at Adepticon a few years ago, I went by the Cool Mini booth, and we talked about what it really took to get these high-end artists to produce work like you're seeing here. And they said, now if I'm remembering right, it was $500 a figure to really get a competition quality piece of work. And that's something that I really went off on a tangent. It's okay. Let's talk about this. I called this the cool mini syndrome. Is that you go on websites where it's geared to hobbyists, and people are kind of doing it for labor of love, and that's different than having to do it with a deadline per figure. So anyway, really great miniatures, very beautiful. So if you go to Infinity the game, you can look up the different factions. It kind of tells you the pros and cons of them. And there's really a lot to it. They have downloadable beginning rules. They do have a new rule book. So here's the free rule book. That's pretty awesome. Love that. And wow, that's really cool. Unit Pro, and it's all done so handsomely with so much lavish art. I mean, I can't say enough good things about Infinity. It's really cool. And who knows, someday I may actually play it as well. But be ready to pin your models or be very careful with them. But you know what? With a model count of 8 to 14 models for a whole army to actually play the game, you can spend that extra time on your figures. And there are a lot of companies that put out terrain. Now that is something about Infinity that is a little more intensive than other games. You need a lot of terrain, and because it's got to be really thick. You can't have an open board, and it's actually a lot more fun to play this game with very dense terrain, because you can get shot pretty quick as you're running across an alleyway. So let's see here. Yeah, there's a lot of different companies that put out terrain and stuff like that. In fact, let's go look at Micro Art Studio. These guys have been around forever. So they're based in Poland. However, if you go through the War Store, that is actually on the East Coast US. So let's take a look at bases. So definitely, if you're going to get into Infinity, get some cool bases. Getting this techno stuff, like urban flight bases, this is cool. God, let's take a look at those. I mean, it's definitely worth the investment to pick up these cool bases. Okay, I do believe that is a broken link. That's okay. Let's just go back and try something different. Let's see here. There you go. That's pretty cool. Yeah, isn't that neat? Like, so detailed. And it's really cool stuff. It's definitely a game where, with an extremely low entry point, I do believe they have a starter set called Project Ice Storm, something like that. And that comes with like 14 figures in it. And so I really would recommend looking into that. So guys, that's what I know about Infinity in terms of like getting into wargaming and actually finding people to play with. I gotta tell you, this is probably your best bet. It's got some really good stuff. If you like anime, you'll definitely see the anime influence there. So thanks for tuning in, and that is all I have to say about that. 3, 2, 1. Okay, P.S. I have on the Blue Table Painting YouTube channel, I have tons, maybe as many as 40 Infinity videos. And there's a lot of stuff on here, and a lot of it done pretty well. and some of it just sort of the slapdash, just get it up thing that we normally have. So Josh, who you recognize, local resident. Yeah, there you go. He's a cheerful fellow, and just really the salt of the earth. And he does a really good job explaining everything, and he's very, very into Infinity himself. So that's enough of that. What else? Yeah, promo video from Corvus Belli. They send us stuff. And so there's really a lot to see here. And we've just done an absolute ton of Infinity figures. And in terms of commissioning for assembly and painting, again, it's pretty low entry point. It's something that we can definitely take care of for you. So all right, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.